So what I want you to think about, and that's enough of me talking, you've gotten your chance to talk, is how do we do these things? I'm going to put Banks up here. This is the gentleman I told you about. And really, if you just go to Google and you type in James Banks, he's going to come up. And Seattle, is that where? So what I'm sharing with you is not mine. I don't want to in any way pretend it's mine, but I see definite connections between our framework and the work that he's doing in social justice and equity. Because these ideas of telling stories and listening to stories and getting to know who kids are and getting to know cultural events around their lives, that's sort of a bottom line for him. The telling stories and listening to stories and getting to know who kids are and getting to know cultural events around their lives, that's sort of a bottom line for him. It's not all he wants to see in the classroom by any means, but it's a start. And so he breaks up culturally responsive teaching, and you're going to get to play with this in a minute, into these areas. And maybe this is a chance to take notes, because we haven't had any note-taking for those that like to take notes. Okay? So he breaks up the 4 areas, and these are things to think about as you are working in your class and as I'm working in my class at the university, or I saw some things this year in the name of administration that was just dumbfounding in terms of the opposite of motivation and engagement. And I know some of you were sharing stories on this. In any event, he talks about the contributions approach, which he's not listing as a great idea. But he says you'll see in classrooms, for instance, pictures of Cesar Chavez, or pictures of Dr. Martin Luther King, or pictures of, he said, you know, and so some teachers think that just by putting up pictures, or it's Black History Month, so we put up a poster for that. Yeah, see? We're being culturally responsive. Obviously, he's not a fan of that. That is the contributions approach. So, in Denver, we're going to, honestly, God, I saw this, and I hope I'm not making fun of any of you, but it was Cinco de Mayo, and the school is mainly Hispanic, and so the teacher put up a piñata in the middle of the room and said, Cinco de Mayo, let's break the piñata and I'll eat candy. That's a contributions approach. Like, we just throw something in. Kids, I don't know how that fit into their lesson on addition of fractions. This is a 3rd grade class. I'm like, whatever. So that's sort of like his lowest level of what we think is culturally responsive teaching, what we've seen in the classrooms. The next one is the additive approach. So let's go back to It's Black History Month. So it's Black History Month, and even though our curriculum is at that time focusing on, let's say, give me a focus of your curriculum in writing. Just give me something.
Persuasive writing.
That might fit, but it's persuasive writing, okay, and I'm the teacher. So our unit is persuasive writing, but boom, it's Black History Month, and I think I have to do something with Black history. So I show a movie of Dr. Martin Luther King and the March on Washington. Then I shut off the movie, and we go back to persuasive writing. That's what he calls the additive approach. I'm not really making any connections between the two. It's just, I'm going to show you that I'm culturally responsive, so we're going to talk about the Mexican Revolution, or we're going to talk about, I have a school that's mainly Russian, so we're going to talk about, in the middle of something else, the demise of the Soviet Union. That connected all of you to everything. Now let's move on. Kind of like we're just throwing things in there. Now, this is where one of the 2 levels he wants all of us to aspire to, or to be a part of. Transformative education, which is now a part of our program at UCD, that every one of our teachers has to demonstrate their ability to do this, is the curriculum and the background of the students are purposely planned in advance to match. So, let's take one community in Denver. Montbello High School, the high school that I work at. But it has to be planned with the students' community of Montbello in mind. Planned in advance, so it's not an add-on, it's part of the curriculum. There's only one way I know you can do that. You have to know the community. Let's get back to this parent thing. Our teachers are required to go out into the community and create a digital story about the community, focusing only on the assets of the community. Period. Only. We don't want to hear anything about, oh, well, you know, at this point. Nothing negative. Tell me, tell the students, put together your story showing that you know all the assets of Montbello. Even though the kids call Montbello, the kids at the school, Montgino. Which I tell my teachers, I don't never hear any of you say that. And you better be discussing with the kids the assets of the community, etc. So Montbello has this image in Denver. Right? So they have to dispel that image. They have to get out in the community, and you know what? They come back on, wow, did you know that at the Boys and Girls Club this happened? Did you know that at the... Sometimes I say, yeah, I knew that. Sometimes I say, whoa, I didn't know that. Go to the restaurants. What's good? Where do families eat? What's going on there? Where do people gather? What's the big do? We have this day called the Big Do. It's the coolest thing, where all the parents and the families get together at the high school grounds, and they come just to picnic. It's a custom in that area. And then teachers are expected to show up there. It's not an option, etc. So all these things that go on in the community. At their, just another example that they learned, and this is so cool. At their high school plays, all community members are invited to participate. So they have members of the community that are 60 years old that are in the high school musicals. How cool is that? Lots of different things about this. So they have to find it now that you've learned the assets. That's what they do when they come into the school. Yeah, you're going in and helping, you know, the first levels of student teaching, you're kind of getting involved and helping with the teacher, etc. But you know what I want you doing mainly? Get out there. See what's happening. Meet people. Montbello community churches are it. They are it. They have a huge influence on that high school.